Believers of Reddit, why do you believe in God? I thought this thread was going to be filled with arguments, but it's surprisingly wholesome. I was brought up with religion. My mom and other family members said tales of many gods and goddesses. Yes, we are Hindu. We celebrate a lot of festivals. I believe Big Bang in the evolution. But I also believe in a higher power. I believe that if I do good, my life will be better. If I help others, I will be helped when necessary. That I should work hard and believe in myself. It has given me confidence and hope. Religion for me is about helping others and believing in a greater power. If I'm being honest, I was born into it, and to face the whole wild world without knowing somebody has my back in that. This isn't all that there is quite scary. I also think about all the people I've met and grown up with in church. How they've cared for and held my hand through rough times. Been my shoulder to cry on. Not to say that non-religious people aren't loving, or that all religious people are loving. It doesn't take much looking to find that out. But I definitely think I would be much less considerate without having the morals of God in mind. All in all, I would recommend looking through various religions to see what you think is true. And to other religious people, the best way to spread your belief is to be loving toward others. Actions speak larger than words. Every morning when I pray, walking out, I just feel like I can do anything. Literally. It's not an explainable feeling. Edit. Thanks for the award. And the upvotes. And atheists, please relax lol. If you don't believe in something, you do you, and I'll do me. I was being completely honest. Nobody here cares whether you think my experience is valid. Good day. Because I have felt, and continue to feel, God's love in my life. Because when I follow the path of love, it makes life better for everyone, including myself. VeggieTales doesn't make as much sense without believing. I was brought up Catholic, but it wasn't until I was older that I appreciated it. I believe because we receive so many blessings every day, and it's our choice to see the good or the bad. We can also choose to do good or bad. Either way, God loves us and watches out for us. He lets us choose what kind of relationship to have with Him. When I realized that, it blew my mind. I agree with others, it's all about love. If you had to sum up the Bible in one word, that word is love. So be good to each other, because that's all that matters in the end. Have a great day. It's a tricky question because we need to know what sort of God you're asking about. I am a Christian, but I certainly don't believe in the white-bearded old man pictured in the Sistine Chapel. Yes, in Genesis it says that God created man and woman in His own image. But I don't take that to mean His physical image. I think it more likely means that humans were created with the capacity to create and destroy, with free will and the ability to think critically. When you compare our abilities to those of other species on the planet, we certainly are godlike. I believe in an omnipresent creative power in the universe, a power which can be channeled. Beyond that, I don't strive for a definitive understanding of God. The text of 1 Corinthians chapter 13 verses 9 to 12 suggests to me that, in the eyes of God, we are like children who can understand God in a mirror dimly and will not achieve full understanding until we meet face to face. I'll wait until then to figure Him out, so I can find a sense of peace and comfort. Someone to look up to when I'm down or in the lowest moments of my life. To feel like someone is watching over me and guiding me pushes me forward every day in life. Or maybe I'm just really fucking lonely and retarded. This is probably going to get buried, and I don't think this is quite what I was looking for. But here goes. I was raised in an Episcopalian church. I was never super religious. I can't quote Bible verses or anything. But I think the main thing that stuck with me was Jesus saying you're supposed to treat everyone with respect and be nice to them. That always struck a chord with me, and the idea of heaven was comforting. As I grew older, I understood why some people weren't particularly religious. The hypocrisy of being devoutly Christian and then using it as some excuse to oppress minority groups, people of color, members of the LGBT community. Another thing that alienated me was realizing that people in Christianity weren't being motivated to be nice for the sake of being nice. They did it to have a better shot at getting into heaven. And that really bothered me. It felt superficial. So I've always been in this odd area where I didn't feel a kinship with lots of Christians or atheists who insulted Christianity as a whole. I don't think I believe in a big man in the sky anymore. But for me, in a strange way, having faith for me is having faith in humanity. I also don't know if heaven exists, but it's a nice thought that provides relief. They say reading the Bible will make you an atheist. Well, I postulate reading a biochemistry textbook will turn you into a believer. There are so many things that are absolutely miraculous in biochemical pathways to the point where it seems that billions of years of evolution would not result in what we've observed. Furthermore, I've done a lot of heavy thinking during this shutdown period, and I've come to the realization that seemingly every civilization had some form of religion that appears to have developed mostly independently of one another. In a sense, this made me wonder if religion is in human nature, which I believe to be logical in the case of the existence of a God. I was an atheist for a long time, as that is what is socially acceptable in scientific communities. However, after thinking for myself, the existence of a higher power isn't that far-fetched of an idea. Question: why do people actively shit on believing in God and Christianity on Reddit? I am not sure I've seen Christians actively shitting on atheists on Reddit. Might be something to that as a belief system. I've experienced the love of God that changed my life. I didn't find religion, I found Jesus. Or better yet, he found me. I've heard his voice in a pastor who has a message that explains the very thing I was going through at that time. I've been to Africa. I've seen Christians who were facing persecution who couldn't stop smiling, who had this joy and peace in the midst of everything they were going through. All because of Jesus. The intricate ways that all of the plants and animals have. The miracle of the human mind and emotions. When you give money to a homeless person, or just smile at someone, you are displaying the very character of Jesus. Atheist or not, the fact that we all have unique personalities and features like fingerprints. The way everything was designed. Every creature, every plant, the ocean, the sea, and the sky. Every little thing on this earth is so filled with perfect detail. All of the organisms and life in the ocean is astounding. It's like everything was created with so much care and thought. If you're reading this, I believe that God loves you so much. Take your eyes off of whatever you're going through and look to Him. I promise you He will accept you with open arms. He created you. He formed every single part of you. You are extremely valuable to Him. Christian here. Few of my top reasons. Personal experiences I cannot deny. I can't accept that everything we see and experience is just chance. Seems like it takes more faith to believe life just happened than someone purposefully made it happen. The order of creation in Genesis is pretty much the exact order of evolution. How in the world did someone know that 3,500 years ago? Because I've had many experiences in my life that speak to a higher order or consciousness and harmony that we can only tap into on occasion. Because every major religion I've studied touches on the same similar constructs, albeit in different terms. Because, even as a scientist, it takes me as much faith to believe as it does to disbelieve. Note, I don't believe God is an entity, human consciousness. I think that's a common misinterpretation among both religious folk and atheists. Grew up going to church and it always felt right to me. I'm not going to pretend that I have all the answers to that, it all makes sense. It just is nice to believe, and so I do. So that's what we're going to do on our AskReddit today. We're gonna fight. I'm a Roman Catholic, and to be completely honest, anyone can tell you anything with enough facts and arguments and blah blah blah. So sometimes I wonder, what if it's not real and it's all made up? Because again, anyone can write something down and claim it to be true. But then I think about all the miracles that have happened to everyday people. There are a lot of saints that intrigue me with their lives and experiences. Eucharistic miracles are also truly beautiful to me. If anything fully anchors me to my faith, it's the Eucharist. I've also gotta say that my own personal experiences help me to keep believing. There have been too many crazy things that have happened that I really don't think could be just coincidence. I honestly do believe I have felt God's presence. And it's such a peaceful and powerful feeling. There isn't a time where I listen to the song Reckless Love and not cry. Although I do believe my faith is the truth, I don't force it on anyone. Honestly, I would rather people try to figure out the truth for themselves than to blindly believe some religion, or lack thereof. It ultimately comes down to what you feel in your heart. And I hope you find the truth. Yes, because it is just wild for me to think that everything that existed just came out of nowhere. I grew up with it, kinda without realizing, and it's nice to believe that there's something more. Also, I'd like to think that I'll see my mom again. I was raised an atheist and never faithfully followed any religion. But there was time around a decade ago, when I was despondent and depressed and hated my life. I had a spiritual awakening of sorts. I believe in God now, but not as any kind of embodiment that is presented in various religions. Instead, I believe that God is a universal field of love and goodness that permeates everything and is inside all of us, because I'm too afraid to not believe. Life and nature are both far too intricate to have happened on their own. There just has to be something helping it along. A geographically based idealism was instilled in me as a child. Lots of DMT. Because believing in myself is too hard. When he fills that void in your soul that nothing else can fill, then you know God exists. No price asked, only you faith required. Experiences with God that I can't explain, but also can't deny. Calling it a feeling doesn't quite do it. I think lately I've been looking for excuses or reasons to become an atheist. I go watch interviews with prominent atheists and skeptics, and keep coming away unconvinced. I don't believe in a bearded man in the sky, but I do believe that God is the universe and nature, and that humanity is bound as one with the cosmos in ways more sublime than we can fathom. Editing to try to answer some of the questions, starting with why. Something tells me there's a higher power and meaning if we can find it. I just can't anthropomorphize it. I don't believe there's a God that interferes in the affairs of humans. If there is, he's either not omnipotent or not benevolent. I also can't assign it magical powers. The idea that if enough people pray for something then God will hear it and grant it sounds to me like magical thinking. On the other hand, if enough people pray for something and then act to make it come to pass, that's possible. Or if I pray, which I do rarely, for strength or wisdom, I believe that makes me more likely to find it, because I want to believe that when I die I'll meet a higher meaning, and that what good I have done will benefit people and me. I've been in situations where I felt hopeless and these beliefs kept me going. Knowing the fact that how hard life becomes, there's still hope. AMND. Before atheists want to come in on me, please just don't. I respect your perspective and I understand that we all derive from different backgrounds. Not here to argue, just here to share. LMAO. I thought that said beavers at first. Unlike most people here, I wasn't born into it. My reason for believing is that I studied microbiology and chemistry in college. I've learned about the complex nature of not only basic life, but how two different pieces of life somehow grew to interact with each other without ever being able to communicate. And through all of my studies, the only logical thing points to something pulling the strings. I don't believe in the biblical sense of God, but I do believe in a God. This God isn't so much an "I'll punish you for not believing" kind of God, nor is it "I'll reward those who do well." It's more of a God that runs the show. And if you know where to look, you will find small fingerprints. I just do. If I'm ever faced with a big problem, I pray unless I know a good solution. Never in my memory has that failed me. I've met some people who don't believe because of war and other bad things that have happened. War is started by people. God gave us the freedom of choice. If He is real, so humans started that. I respect anyone who has a different perspective, and am willing to open up to any other beliefs. If something is known for sure, it is boring. It's nice to think what good lurks between shadows and heavens or underground. Quite a few reasons, some being personal and others being that there has to be something more. I'm also the type of Christian that is also pretty scientific. I think evolution is real, but I also believe God was responsible for setting the possibility of life into motion. I also don't think the Bible is 100% true or unaltered. I like to think that some of the stories in it are just stories. Lessons for us to learn. I say some because a couple of stories have been historical events or discovering marvels that could be proof this particular thing happened. I believe most things in the Bible and agree with most of its lessons. But I also feel like the church got involved at some point to add things that fit their agenda. Kind of like how they spread that killing yourself will send you straight to hell because suicide rates were so high at the time they wanted to scare people into not doing it. I don't think being LGBT+ is a sin. I'm pansexual myself and I don't think suicide equals hell. I just don't think God would send people to hell for these things. Maybe Old Testament God, but not the one we follow now. I also believe the reason so much bad shit happens to us despite God having the ability to make the world better is because of the fact He gave us free will and doesn't want us to depend on Him for everything. We won't grow or become better beings if we have someone more powerful than us doing all the work. We're constantly tested and put through things to develop. Whether for the best or for the worst depends on the person. We're supposed to learn how to adapt and grow into better people through the challenges we face and look to God for guidance or forgiveness if we fuck up on our journey. It's just unfortunately a lot of people haven't learned their lessons yet or failed to see the point or positive learning experience from their unfortunate moments in life. Statistically speaking, I should be way worse than I am. I was raised by an abusive mother who tried to turn me into a sex worker and have me molested. I should be a smoker, an alcoholic, and having irresponsible sex with random people and repeating the cycle of abuse. However, I never smoke. I don't drink often. I find no comfort in keeping myself in that cycle and broke out of it. Even taking steps to prevent it, like acknowledging I wouldn't be a good mother and making sure I don't get pregnant because of that fact. That's not the usual outcome from someone of my background, and I like to think there was a reason for that and for all the shit I've been through. It's comforting thinking that it happened for a reason and prepared me for life with the lessons I'll needed to learn to survive and do well.